What is hypnosis and how does it work? In this video I explain. Keep watching. Hi, I'm Mike. Welcome to my channel. Really glad you could join me. Please do like and subscribe and you'll be notified of any videos coming up shortly. So what is hypnosis? Well, hypnosis is a heightened state of awareness and relaxation induced by suggestion. So it's where you quiet the conscious mind to such a degree that the hypnotist can communicate directly with the subconscious mind. Another description could be it's a trance-like state. So your brain will go in and out of trance periodically through the day. For example, when you catch yourself staring off into space or you veg out in front of the TV. Some common stereotypes of hypnosis are the unfortunate victim who clucks around the stage thinking they're a chicken, or where the Victorian fiend dangles an old-fashioned watch in front of the damsel until she falls asleep. Now I hope that at this point we'll dispel these myths. The word hypnosis comes from the Greek god Hypnos. Hypnos was the god of sleep who lived in a cave with his brother Thanatos, the god of death. Actually, nothing could be further from the truth. Hypnosis is not sleeping, and you certainly won't die. You're actually in a heightened state of awareness and your senses are acute. You can actually hear a lot more than normal. But the first part of the job of a hypnotist is to induce this trance-like state of hypnosis. And this is actually a simple process once you've learned how to do it. Now, if you're thinking about visiting a hypnotherapist for, say, quitting smoking, a very small part of the process is actually inducing hypnosis, otherwise known as induction. The vast amount of skills, care and time, however, are required to deliver the actual therapy. And there are many types of therapy. Suggestion is the most common type, and suggestion can be negative or positive. So the therapist needs to exercise great skill and knowledge to get this part right. This is so that the therapy takes hold and the client gains the benefits. Now, to varying degrees, people are open to receiving suggestion, and we're often swayed by people's opinions. These suggestions can also change our beliefs, and therefore the results that we get in our lives. Suggestion therapy is therefore one of the first things your hypnotherapist will learn, because they can affect real change in you if they do it right. And the important thing to remember is using suggestion as therapy is that we don't use the unwanted feeling or condition. We will always use the opposite positive suggestion. This is because this is how the mind works. An example, you will stop smoking becomes you will now return to being a non-smoker. When we hear language, the words are processed by our subconscious mind and associations are made so that we can make sense of them. Properly formulated suggestions can therefore be accepted by the subconscious as fact and then become reality. And there are direct and indirect suggestions. And both these types are useful tools in a therapist's armour. Now, direct suggestions are commands like, you will now return to being a non-smoker. And these can be used on analytical types of people. They are to the point, abrupt and without ambiguity. In a way, they're clear instructions for people, and these are very useful for people who are used to taking orders or people who work in hierarchical structures. For instance, people in the armed forces or emergency services or large corporations, maybe. Now, indirect suggestions can be used for creative types of people, and these suggestions go round the houses. The therapist would ask politely for someone to do something. They are true suggestions. These would be good for artists, dancers, designers, writers. For an example, an indirect suggestion could be, and you might find you begin to enjoy the process of becoming your ideal size and shape. If someone is not an obvious creative or analytical type, a good therapist will throw in a mixture of direct and indirect suggestions. And then we come to contingent suggestions. Now, contingent suggestions are those that involve the client's current routines. For instance, let's say you suffer from insomnia and you want to be able to drift off to sleep at a reasonable time. A contingent suggestion would use the current bedtime routine. So for instance, the therapist might say, and as the music to the news at 10 comes on the TV, you will find, etc. And then as you climb the stairs, you will become more relaxed, and each step you take up the stairs, you will feel more relaxed. So the idea here is that you're making a suggestion safe and familiar to the subconscious mind, which doesn't like change or threats. You're simply suggesting that the client feels a different way when a familiar thing happens. Embedded suggestions are commands that can be used to prevent rejection of the suggestions. Here the therapist would give you lots of simple, true suggestions or truisms that you can't reject. They would also add one embedded suggestion that they want you to take away. For example, you are feeling relaxed. Now you can relax 10 times deeper. You can focus on the sound of my voice. And an embedded suggestion, you will now return to being a non-smoker. Now you are even more relaxed. And the more you relax, the more your breathing slows down. You may feel you need to swallow. That's okay. Post-hypnotic suggestions are suggestions which will be given during hypnosis, which you would later carry out. Now, to formulate post-hypnotic suggestions, you would use the formula of stimulus X will result in response Y. For example, and when you hear the music, you will. Or each and every time you have these unwanted feelings, you will immediately take a deep breath, and as you breathe out, your body will relax. Once you're in trance, your conscious mind will not question any suggestions. The purpose of inducing trance is to bypass the pre-conscious part of the mind. And this is the critical reasoning part of the mind that filters all the incoming sensory information. And it will reject anything that it deems to be a threat or is irrelevant. The trance state allows the therapist to bribe the guards, so to speak. This will allow the suggestion to enter the subconscious. And this is where all the skill and training of the therapist comes into play. Now, I could teach you to hypnotise someone in a few hours. However, the process of therapy takes proper training and much practice to get right. Now let's dispel some myths. One myth is that a hypnotist can make you do something that you wouldn't normally do. Now this is absolute nonsense. Your subconscious mind is so powerful and will always protect you. So even though the suggestion bypasses the critical mind, the subconscious can still reject it. The second myth is that you can be hypnotised against your will. Again, this is nonsense. If the critical mind is still active, it could reject every single suggestion made. So trust is the key here. The client must trust the therapist or there will be no induction. That said, be very careful of this notion. You can be lulled into a state of trance just by watching TV. And here you're very open to suggestion. Adverts are a prime example. And in another video I go into how advertisers trick you, hypnotise you into buying their products. Therapy won't work unless you want it to. And as I've said before, you will resist any induction and suggestions if you don't want to be there. Now, this is often the case when a well-meaning relative cajoles somebody into visiting the hypnotherapist to give up smoking, for instance. The best patients are those who want to be there, and the therapist can use his or her skills to facilitate the changes in the client. Now, remember that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, and the successful therapist is one who is adept at guiding the client to make the changes themselves. That's it from me. Thanks for watching. Hope you got value from this. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next.